Introducing the Nexxus 360, D'Addario's first rechargeable omnidirectional tuner. Visible at every turn, from any angle, no matter where you wind up. Nexxus 360, built for your next stage.
From Your Guitar, hanging out today in Nashville, Tennessee at Dark Matter with Allen of Shiner. Allen, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Very well. We'll get off this. We might as well make this point noted now that Josh is unable to hang out with us today and talk gear. As we all know in the gear community, Josh is a big gearhead, flies that flag proudly, but he has got other jobs to handle right now. But that aside, we're still stoked to talk to Allen and
Thank
Paul.
you.
Allen, now this guitar looks like a Tele. It is a Tele, but it's not a Fender.
It is not. It is a Hohner Telecaster. I got it. We found it at Saul's Pawn Shop in Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay.
On lunch break, in between at our job at the dental.
You and Paul are urchins for gear like that.
Well, especially Paul. I'll give him all the credit. And he was like, "Oh, there's this guitar hanging on the wall at Saul's Pawn Shop, and it was like $90." And I go, "It looks really cool." And he goes, "I'll do the talking." And so we got it for a reasonably great price. And then it turns out that this had been just like the toy guitar for one of our buddies. And it had been the trash guitar sitting around there like Playhouse. And it had been like, so I didn't do any of this damage on here.
Wow.
It's like, I would love to take credit for having antiqued it, but I cannot take credit for that. It's just, I've only made it better as it goes along.
How long have you had this?
I have had it since '91.
Okay, wow, so that's with all the Shiner material.
Yes, and this has been the main go-through. I don't always track with this, but I will. It's generally a mainstay live. It just plays so comfortable. It's such a great neck, and just the sound of it is what I want, so.
Now, what would you track with? Like, you guys released your most recent record in 2020. Mm-hmm. What was used for that in comparison to what you use live here?
We used several different things. I did use this some. We used I think a lot of the main tracking is with the Univox.
Okay.
I have a Univox Les Paul Jr., and it's maybe my best guitar. It's my best sounding guitar, but it's like just not right for live all the time. Mm-hmm. But tracking, I would say it's probably my best sounding guitar.
And does this guitar get used for your other projects, or is this just kind of like a Shiner live guitar?
No, I will use this with Life and Times also, but I mainly use I have an Oscar Schmidt 335 knockoff that I got. I want to say it's a Washburn, and I got it for $29 at I'm not kidding, and it's amazing. I got it at that Musician's Friend Scratch and Dent that we were talking about earlier.
I feel like that's going to be the theme of our conversations today between you and Paul.
That's kind of how we work. We have a lot of great gear from picking.
Yeah. And so, anything specific to this guitar that we should know about, like wiring? Obviously, it's beat to hell, but is there like both pickups? Do they work?
Yeah, they work. Okay. Everything works great.
Original when you got it 91?
No, they've been replaced. They've been replaced once. New pots. I've had it redone, but not in the past like 10 years. It's had new everything along the way, and different people work on it. But at this point, I haven't really messed with it so much in the past 10 years. So. It just is what it is. I just love it.
All right. Well, it looks well loved. And for strings and tunings, what do you typically ride in?
I use 11 to 50s. Okay. We use Dunlops. I use Jim Dunlop's 11 to 50s. We are in D standard tuning, so it is a good tuning for us. Although I feel like sometimes when I'm playing an E standard, you really hear the guitar ring and resonate so much more. But at this point, we're in D standard for all of it. So, and we continue to write in it, and we like it. And so then if we're in D, playing a D chord, we will tune down, so that'd be to drop C.
All right.
But we don't say that, even though this is a C chord. we still would call it a D chord just for clarity.
Familiar,
yeah, exactly.
And this friend over here, I know that you said that off camera that this is kind of mainly a backup, but we should at least acknowledge it. So
indeed, it's just had a new bridge put on it that I got from Josh Newton. Thank you, Josh. It needs a little bit of nut work up here. I got it from Chris Metcalf, the drummer in Life and Times, and it is a good friend. I did a lot of tracking for the Life and Times record, and the neck pickup is the real. That's the money maker on this guitar, I would say. That's the one that is the most effective for tracking. But yeah, it's going to get up and running. I need to get it up at a higher level of rockability.
No, I'm curious because Josh is such an asset to, you know, that his, I don't want to say his main gig, but pays the bills is doing tech work.
Yeah.
Do you guys bother him with that when you guys are on the road, or, you know, around him?
He has had to do some things and step in, but Paul's pretty techie, I'm okay, and Josh is very techie, obviously. So I try not to bother with him, but he's like, he goes, "What's that buzz?" I was like, "What buzz?" It's barely buzzing. He was like, starts, you know, switching out cables and finds it, and he can get to the source of things pretty quickly, you know?
Yeah.
He's great.
Well, let's move on to amps. Speaking of buzzing, let's move on to amps.
Yeah.
Now, this setup is kind of, I've been familiar with this in terms of your live gear for a while. Is this like dating? Because they look well worn.
They are well worn.
Dropped a few times.
Well, maybe, probably. I got this in '97 new.
Okay.
This is a Vox AC30. It's the top boost reissue. And so it's able to get a little bit more gain, and it's maybe louder. But I love it. It adds a lot to my sound. It really fills in a lot of the gaps in the middle. That this is more like a top and bottom kind of thing. It's a stereo. They're in stereo pair, and if I'm just using one amp, I'll use the Hiwatt here. And this guy was procured from Dwayne Trower of Season to Risk. I gave him $500 and another amplifier, like in its stead, that's not near as good. So I won on this one.
Clearly.
I believe this one was used, it's a 71, and was used in the touring production of Tommy, the musical.
Wow.
I believe, that is my understanding. And it smokes. I can use it for bass, I can use it for guitar. It's got a cool mod here where this is like a pre-gain. This first master volume, if I crank it like this, I can get a lot of drive from it.
Yeah, because normally Hiwatts are clean headroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it adds a lot. I don't usually use that live. I'm usually pedal powered on as far as my distortion live in the live setting. But if I'm tracking and want a certain sound, I can get it out of this, and there's a pretty cool gain staging between all these. Now,
do you record with these amps? Okay.
Oh yeah, and I use this setup, and a lot of times, just one stereo pair is great. You know, I'll sometimes double it, you know, just for thickening, but like you don't really need it. It's massive enough. And for Shiner stuff, I usually try to just do one of my tracks and not double them. For Life and Time stuff, I would definitely kind of double things up and do that.
A three-piece.
Yes, yes.
And should we know anything before we move on to the pedals about the speakers? Stock, anything special there going between the two?
I couldn't tell you. Okay. These are probably 35 watt, and these are Celestians, I believe.
Did you get the cab in the deal too? Or just the head?
This was procured from Josh Newton.
Okay.
Continues to come up. We call him Nooch. We call him Nooch. The Nooch. So we were using this. He was using this with his Hiwatt, I believe, and then he sold it to me for a song. Literally a song. And so
that's great.
It's $200. So, but it sounds great. And yeah, it's been a real workhorse.
Well, right on. This is the point where we get to talk pedals, and the first thing we're going to talk about, Alan, is a vocal pedal and how that plays into your setup.
Indeed. So it will take, the pedal will read the quality of the chord that I'm playing, whether it's major or minor.
And you can set that.
And I can set that. I can set this setting to say a third above the root note.
Okay.
So if I'm playing this handy A chord, hey, and then I will add this. It goes. Hey, that's actually a fifth above. But so it's really handy for all kinds of stuff. actually. And if you don't have it too loud, there's not a lot of like artifacts and weird stuff with it, and it mixes in very well, and you just kind of pick and choose your spots for it. So,
the harmonies are huge for like with the Shiner music. So is that
sure.
something you've had in the 90s and early 2000s? Or
No.
because the technology wasn't there?
No, it was just, we did it, but Paul's a good singer and has done a lot of that, and we just kind of did without on some other parts that were more difficult. But I love this TC Helicon pedal a lot. The Harmony Singer, and it works really good for like singer-songwriters kind of stuff, and it's a little more difficult to make it follow a single line, like unless you're playing a chord that has quality to it, like that has if it's just root and fifth, it wouldn't know. It would have to have the third, either major or minor. So then next it comes into my volume pedal. Comes out to these MXR pedals, which are my lifeblood. I love MXR stuff.
Yeah,
it's
dependable.
So and so high quality. And then out, so it's basically several gain stages here. You can go clean, or you can add this micro amp, just the classic, and it adds a little zhung, and then this is quite rocked out. Or I can just use the distortion, and then that adds a bump when you add the micro amp to it too. So the Pog's a big part of the equation for Life and Times especially, but I use it in the Shiner set too. I love that it will follow and doesn't like get mushy. It actually is. It sounds like a kaleidoscope when it's on. You know, it's like it really opens up. I love this. I think it's the M300 reverb pedal. It's as long and spacey as you want. It's got like 6 different settings, and it's just a great MXR product. I really love it. And then my final part of the whole pedal board is the Line 6 DL4. I know everybody has that, but it is how it goes out to the 2 amps, and so when it's played, you have a little stereo delay. So it adds a lot.
Now in the Shiner equation, I know Josh isn't here to speak for himself, but we won't talk to him today, but we already have, his fill-in currently is Mario from Spotlights. So Mario is running almost as identical Spotlights rig, so check out that rig rundown we did. But in the context of Shiner with Josh, where are you like battling each other, meaning for sonic space? Like I'm sure Josh has got the mothership board.
He does.
And you're more of the meat and potatoes middle ground?
Yes, that's exactly right. And so I keep my role in that to play in the chord structure, and it doesn't have to be tons of effect like I might have in Life and Times.
Yeah.
But I just try to carry the song and then let Josh do his thing, all the atmospherics and stuff, and he has so many great lines. And Paul really carries the chord progression, so I can do more kind of like just meat and potatoes. That's what it is.
It's like a Transformer. I know I'm an 80s kid dating myself, but like Transformers in terms of like more of the meats, you guys combine and then you're this huge force.
For sure, yeah. I do, and I like the way our guitars will we find lines that work around each other, and he's great with that. It's amazing. So.
Well, I think we've wrapped up your portion, Alan, and it's time to talk to Paul.
Right on.
Kill it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. I am on the same side of the stage, but on a different position. Now I'm with Paul. Mighty Paul. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Real good, man. I appreciate you doing this on such short notice, so let's just dive right into it. You said that this is not a home build, but you said this is a kind of a piece together?
Yes, absolutely. It started out as a Japanese or Mexican Squire. Okay. 90s Squire.
And that's what the body is?
That's all. That's the only thing that's left of that.
Well, break it down for us.
Well, it was great. It played great when I got it, and I bought it from a good buddy who's actually our merchandise guy, Darren. And, I wanted to get a backup that would fill in for my other one that I've had forever, and, kind of start with the basic same feel. Replace the bridge. This is a new old stock Kramer bridge made by Shellac.
All right.
And it just dropped right on. It's great. new pickguard, new electronics. This pickup I had wound by some excellent guys in Kansas City, Fountain City Guitars. So they just wound me a hot ass pickup.
Yeah, as I say, did you tell them anything? Just hot as
I
hell?
mean, they know what this one sounds like. I just said it needs to be as loud as this bass and as articulate as the Elite, and they threw it in there, and I love it. It picks up I mean, it's the most responsive pickup I've ever played through. So.
And it's passive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the two knobs, which I love, the contrast there.
Just
between
just volume and tone, and you know, I keep them the tone all the way up. I thought when I first got it, I thought it was going to be too bright, but once it kind of, you know, acclimated to the rest of my rig, I keep it up.
Toned it down a bit.
Yeah, yeah. So,
and what about the neck?
This neck is made by another Kansas City magician named Justin Mantooth.
That's a great name.
Yeah, Tooth of Man. Anyway, he's building guitars called Mantooth, and he didn't actually build this neck. He just finished it all off for him. He was getting them from, I don't know, some guy in New York, and fully finishing them off. I believe this is cherry.
Yeah, it has a different tint to it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a little thicker than I'm used to, but I've acclimated and it's good. Yeah, so I just kind of tried to make something that I could play every day and beat the shit out of.
Yeah,
and it's definitely, it's staying in tune like crazy. On tour, I'm pretty amazed. I pull it out of the case and it's mostly exactly in tune.
Well, man, Paul, I'm going to put you on the spot, and hopefully you're going to make one man out there, but we all know Ross Hurt very happy, because people trying to chase down your tunings, it's been quite elusive trying to go down that road.
I've read some conversations about that, because I haven't been like super secretive about it. But I've talked to a few people, and some people try to figure it out, but
lay it on us.
Well, there's two different tunings for Shiner, actually, three, but the main the main Shiner tuning is it's a unison tuning, and it's C, G, C, and then C again. So it sounds kind of silly.
Yeah.
But you know, when
Let's see, I hear it.
So I'm actually playing with my thumb and my second finger. That's what I'm using to note on everything. So it kind of sounds like this.
At what point of the Shiner catalog did you kind of, from the jump?
The very first day I joined Shiner, we were on my old band, Season of Risk. We were on tour with a band named Glaze Baby, good friends of ours. Josh was in that band, and Shiner was out on tour with us, and they weren't happy with their bass player situation, and I was kind of in a transitional time, and they were like, play bass with us? And I said yes. And then the next day, we were in Atlanta, and then the next day we were in Pensacola, and I'm sitting in the van playing my bass, and Glaze Baby, who were a ballistic noise band, you know, and they did this crazy tuning sometimes where they would do a unison on on the high strings and then slightly detune it, so it just made this crazy weird modulated sound, and I was fucking with that idea, and I came up with this tuning. And then as soon as I got back and we kind of went through the process of me leaving the band and joining Shiner, Allen had written a couple of songs already for the first record with me, Lula Divina, and yeah, just kind of right out of the box, the tuning that I came up with matched up with the riffs he was writing, and it just happened like that. It's
crazy because how much, you know, we focus on gear in this specific show with the amps and the basses and the pickups, but for you and the way that just pummels people is part of that tuning and the way
absolutely. And then, you know, other components can be, you know, the overdrive I use is a basic overdrive that a lot of people use, and it's not a secret weapon of any sort, but that compiled with my tuning, compiled with, you know, I mean, I can plug into any amp and get a good sound, but you know, the stuff that I use is definitely a big part of the big picture. So,
and just to clarify on the tuning, are you doing what you kind of alluded to with Glazed Baby? Where
no.
So they're locked in.
I mean, the modulation happens just with the consistency of my finger on where it's at, you know, or how much I'm pulling, or. But generally, I try to keep it, you know, pretty. So it's modulating a little bit there, but.
I've not been around a herd of buffalo, but I feel like that's what it would feel like. Well, man, I want to talk about this bass now.
Okay.
This is an old friend.
It is, and you know, I got that back in '95 when I was in Season of Risk, and
there's a lot of speculation about this instrument as well.
Yeah, you know, it's well played, it's well loved, but it's I believe it's a 1983 Fender Precision Elite.
I'm not familiar with the Elite and what makes that different. Obviously, the pickups look different.
Well, yeah, you know, clearly there's 2 precision pickups in here, and they're white. They look like they look like lace sensors.
Yeah.
But I think that was kind of the early version of what might have become a lace sensor. But they're actually passive pickups.
Ah, what is it?
And then this part down here, this switch and tone stack it's an active mid-range preamp. So it is an active bass, but only the preamp part of it. The pickups are passive.
Now, do you engage that?
It's on all the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then volume. You know, as interesting and cool as the bridge pickup is, it sounds like shit. It's super thin.
So you only go?
Never.
Okay.
Never use it. I just use the.
And what about tunings for this one?
This one, you know, most of our songs for me are the drop C, but there's a handful of songs that are just the drop D tuning, like Al was talking about. So it's D, G, C, F.
Got it.
Yeah. So.
Growler too, man.
Yeah. I mean, they sound similar, but this one's got a little more throat to it.
Yeah. And what should we know about strings? And we covered tunings, but what about strings do you play?
I used 55 to 110s or 50 to 110s.
And Dunlop like Allen?
Yeah.
Cool. And picks. Do you typically use picks or kind of?
I use picks
exclusively?
Yellow Tortex. Is the thing for me. I used to use greens. They're just a little heavy.
Yeah.
And actually before that, and partially the reason this bass looks the way it does, I was using these copper picks for a while called Hot Licks, and they were flexible copper picks, not like real rigid.
Yeah.
I was actually doing some demos in Chicago at Chicago Tracks, and Ministry was recording the Psalm 69 record.
Okay.
And I was like kind of looking at their gear, and there were some of these picks sitting on an amp, and I checked it out and actually took a couple, Al. So
sorry.
Anyway, used those for a while, but then they became really scarce, and you know, just shredding.
What did you like about that sound that it would come off the string?
Just that
real
percussive. You know,
yeah.
Especially when I was in Season of Risk, my playing was super percussive and rhythmic. You know, and it needed that extra bite. So, yeah.
And it definitely did a number on your finish.
Did. Yeah. I got it. Get a little scratched.
Yeah. Speaking of scratch and dent, we'll parlay that to this Peavey here.
Yeah.
Which is another talking point about your setup. But you've had this for a long time, and I love its origin story. So tell us about how you got it.
Yeah. I used to play Mesa 400 pluses with the Mesa 215 cab, and originally when Shiner broke up in 2003, I hung on to that amp for a while, but I wasn't touring anymore, and a friend of mine wanted it, so I sold it to him. And I didn't have a great bass amp for a while because I was mostly just doing studio stuff. But in Kansas City, we had a musician's friend, Scratch and Dent warehouse, and I had some friends that worked there, and we would just every day new crazy slightly damaged gear or completely destroyed gear would come in. You know? And I came across this, and I only paid $50 for it.
And what was the faulty part of it?
It was missing a fuse cap.
And so, to be clear, this is the Peavey.
I think it's the CL 400, Classic 400. It's 400 watts, all tube, 8 6550s.
Damn.
It's got 2 channels. The first channel is kind of voiced. It's clean. It's voiced more like an old SVT.
Okay.
And then the second channel has a pre and post, and you can actually, like, if I turn off my overdrive and crank up the gain, you can actually get very useful gain out of it.
And so, do you live in the second channel pretty much?
Always.
Primarily? Okay.
Yeah, and it, you know, without my overdrive, but then, you know, so it's, you know,
Man, that moves there.
and it sounds like, it sounds great for guitar too, so.
And what about the cab? What should we know about that? That's very
this
unique
cab
looking.
was built by a buddy of mine in Kansas City, Scott Reed at Ranger Cabs, and it's it's basically the same as like a Mesa 215, which is an EV TL 808 design.
Okay.
So, but it's two of those chambered boxes, and there's 400 watt EVMs, so it's an 800 watt cab.
Damn.
Yeah. And he did a great job building it, and I feel bad having it out on the road, scuffing it all up. But
Yeah, it looks like a pice of furniture.
yeah, but look at me. I mean, I'm all scuffed up. So that's awesome.
Now, what's on top here? Is that anything pertinent to your rig?
That's a hazer.
Oh, well, yeah, that's pertinent to the show, but not here.
Yeah, I'm the on this tour. I'm the light guy and the bass player. So
Well, then that takes us to pedals.
yeah, we'll go back to this guy because this is the main sitch.
Now, yeah, like you said before, you have kind of some standard pedals that everyone's familiar with.
Yeah,
including
nothing.
a bunch
None
of
of my
guitar
pedals
stuff.
are anything that are out of the ordinary. First in the chain is just Ernie Ball volume pedal. I've got the tuner coming off of the tuner output on it, which I had never done before until recently, and it seems to work pretty good. The bass EQ, I've just, I'm ducking a little bit of like 500 on there. That goes into the Maxon overdrive, Tube Screamer-esque.
And is the bass EQ, I imagine that's on all the time?
Yeah, that stays on. The only pedal that I use I use a couple in multiple songs, but
Is the Max on all the time?
Maxon is on all the time. Anytime I need to get cleaner, I pull it back on the volume or on my bass. So yeah, the next in line, Phase 90. I had an orange one forever. It broke, and Josh had this Van Halen one laying around, so I kind of tossed it in. I don't love it as much as I like the orange one, so I'll probably get another orange one. But it's cool. Bass whammy. And I use it for octave, like low octave stuff.
Could we hear how you're using the phase? I know that it's not.
Yeah.
You're not happy with it, but
No, I'm not. I don't dislike it. I just need to get an old orange one, or a new orange one. I haven't tried one yet, but so the Phase 90. The primary thing I use it for is, along with the whammy and the EBO. So. Get the EBO going here.
now what do you have the whammy set to change?
Low octave.
Okay.
So yeah, that's and I like, so one thing I use the whammy for is to just use my unison high strings with no low string. So because the parts that I write like that, I can't do the monkey grip thing. So it's like. I mean, it fills in for playing on the high string, so it's a pretty good trick. It works well.
What do you got going on after that?
That's a Boss Metal Zone.
It's true.
Yeah.
I got to hear how you're running it.
Yeah. The only thing I use I use the Metal Zone for a couple of things. There's a song on our third record, Starless, called Giant's Chair, and it's got this. I run the Metal Zone into the next pedal, the MXR tremolo, and this is that sound.
I just can't get enough of that tone with the amp, your pickups, you playing, the tuning, and that max on. It's crushing.
Yeah, and then if I want to get real noisy and feedback, it's at the Metal Zone gets me there. So
Other than that application, are you using those two pedals in the end? Nope.
No.
And then they get the TC up top?
Yeah, I'm using that on one song in the set, just with the volume pedal, just kind of a. Swelly stuff,
Man, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love it. It sounds awesome. And we apologize that we couldn't bring Josh. Hope you're traveling safe out there, Josh, and come back and rock with Shiner real soon. Thank you again, Paul.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Alan, wherever he's at. You guys rule. Thanks for watching Rig Rundown.